Hey everyone, Steve here with Phantom History. Thanks so much for checking us out on YouTube, and if you enjoy our content, make sure you subscribe. Enjoy this episode. Alone in the dark basement, Steph noticed that the drapes she had hung so carefully were open. Since they were not meant to keep out the light, and since there were no windows, it didn't make any sense that they had been repositioned. It inspired her to say, out loud to the empty room, "Who does that?" Immediately, she says she heard a disembodied voice mimicking her own voice, echoing, "Who did that?" before a pebble flew across the room and landed on the other side. It startled Steph O'Reilly, but in a good way. It once again proved to her that the historic McInteer Villa in Atchison, Kansas was indeed very, very haunted. I'm Steve Blanchard. Welcome to Phantom History. McInteer Villa in Atchison, Kansas was built in 1889 by its namesake, John McInteer. He was an Irish immigrant who made his fortune selling harnesses and saddles and worked in real estate. As an Irish immigrant, it's said that he faced his fair share of discrimination. When he built the house outside of the city, his goal was to create an elaborate mansion complete with stained glass windows and the words McInteer Villa etched into an entryway, which just so happened to face the city. It served as McInteer's residence until his death in 1902 at 73 years old. He was the first recorded death in the home. His second wife, Anna, inherited the building until she passed in the home in 1916 at the age of 58. It passed through several owners until it became a boarding house. Today, the home is on the National Historic Registry and is owned by Steph O'Reilly, who says she purchased it because of its beauty and because of its many alleged spirits residing inside.
I've had it almost 7 years. I bought it just for ghost hunting. It's a gorgeous house. It's a huge house. We've had weddings there. People have had just get-togethers there, family things. So it's not just for paranormal, but that's what 99% of it is.
The city of Atchison, Kansas has embraced the building's paranormal side, often using its image in advertisements in the fall promoting Halloween-themed tours. But it's more than just a perfect spooky backdrop. While she can't identify all the spirits in the house, Steph does know there are at least 9 documented deaths inside the building.
We've had, that I know of so far, 9 documented deaths. One was a suicide. I believe all the deaths were of natural causes except for the Charles Donovan, who was in World War I, contracted the Spanish flu. October 10th, 1922, the paper said he never got over his symptoms from when he was in the war in France. He was never in battle, just went straight to the hospital. He shot himself in the right temple, and it lodged in the left side of his brain for 2 hours, and then he died. He was not one of the owners. He was the owner's son. So the first death was Alice McInteer. She was his first wife, and she only lived there for a year. Then, John McInteer married Anna, and Anna's mother passed away in 1898, and her name was Anna. Then we have John, who died in 1902. Anna, the wife, died in 1916. Her son took his life in 1922. A 4-day-old infant in 1928. Goldie in 1969. Mrs. Girardi in 2014, and Mr. Girardi 2006.
According to Steph, the estate was built within 1 year, and the ornate details remain. She has also filled the space with antiques she has collected from throughout the Midwest, adding a vintage and paranormal charm to the location. That is intentional, she says, and admits some spirits may be attached to the objects she has brought in. But there is one specific piece of furniture that is original to the building, a rocking chair owned by the former resident Goldie, who died just before Christmas on December 21st, 1969.
She had I think she knew she was dying. She approached Mr. and Mrs. Girardi in 1969 and asked if they would buy the house from her. She had one living relative and she didn't want him to have it. So they bought the house from her. 3 months into their renovations, the lady across the street hadn't seen Goldie for a few days. So she called the police, and the police called Mr. Girardi And since he owned the house, he came in with the lady across the street and they found her dead in the rocking chair. They said her hand was on a pistol. She did not kill herself. She was 75. My opinion, or my thought on that is, there's a building across the street that's a daycare center. It used to be an elementary school. There are lots of articles of kids breaking her windows and being arrested, kids calling her a witch. I don't think kids being kids. I think they're mean. And so she was probably, I think, protecting herself from whatever goes on inside the house. She also had that going on outside. So I think that's why she had a pistol next to her, not for any other reason, but probably protection. So I'm assuming she knew she was dying since she asked someone to buy the house from her. I tell people, sit on anything. Sit on Goldie's rocking chair.
While the documents of those deaths prove there were some tragedies in the home, Steph is hesitant to point to specific identities when it comes to the paranormal activity inside McInteer Villa. What she does know, however, is the large number of live streaming cameras throughout the home have caught some unexplainable occurrences, and she readily shares those on social media. It seems the cameras on the second floor, which Steph describes as uncomfortable, catch the most activity.
There were some ladies at the house that heard knockings on the second floor, and so I got on the camera to hear the knocking, but then there was a shadow thing on the floor that went down the hallway and went up the wall that we didn't see until I got on the camera to check their knocks. And it looked like a crab just kind of going up the wall. It's really creepy. I mean, there's a full body shadow man captured with glowing eyes. And that was actually on the Travel Channel on Paranormal Caught on Camera. Full body glowing eyes man standing in the hallway right outside the library door. Now that's why I don't like the second floor. Oh, it's terrible. Lots of shadows being captured on that second floor. Full body shadows.
Fortunately, the spirits of McInteer Villa rarely seem aggressive. Mostly, they are just lurking in the shadows or creating the sounds of footfalls on the floors above, according to most guests. But there was one visit to the basement of the villa that Steph is convinced proves poltergeist activity happens in the home.
A few months ago, I was spending the night by myself, and I walked into the basement, and the room that's furthest to the back, I call it two-curtain room because there are two curtains in there, and the curtains were open, which is not a big deal, but I looked over and I go, who does that? Because it's gross behind those curtains because I didn't clean them. So that's why I said it. But then something mimics me and says, who does that? And then throws a rock. And that's on my Instagram page. That night I did leave. And I just heard it. I didn't see it. But what's funny is I told a lady that story, and she was standing in the same spot that it threw a rock, and something threw a pebble and it hit her.
As with most haunted locations, Steph makes a note to tell her guests and any paranormal investigators that paranormal activity may or may not occur during their stay. There have been plenty of times, she says, she's been at the home and not experienced anything supernatural. One day, however, she was determined to capture something on video. She ventured up to the attic, where she soon discovered something that made her even more uncomfortable than the shadow figures lurking on the second floor.
There's one little section in the attic that I find the most active, and it's just the smallest side of the attic. And so I put a little camera back there, just my little personal camera, and I said, okay, now do something, because I wanted to prove to people that's the most active part of the attic. Nothing happened. So I turned it around and I said, fine, now you're not on camera, now do something. And then I left. It's on my Instagram page. There's a picture or a video of a skeleton, and that's all you'll see in the front is a skeleton. He's just sitting there. I put googly eyes in him because I get bored. And I put a little party hat on him because I get bored. And they were up there for like 3 years in the attic. And then I get, since it's my little Wise camera, I got notification that there was motion. And the skeleton had turned its head so slowly. One eye came out. Now, granted, they're googly eyes. They're not popped in there. But one eye comes out, keeps turning its head. The other eye comes out, the hat falls off, and it's just looking right at the camera. And skeletons move. That's not a big deal. But the way it moved is probably the most creepy thing I've ever seen in that house.
That video, among others, keeps paranormal enthusiasts connected to McInteer Villa and entices investigators to come spend the night. Those investigators have also shared their paranormal evidence, ranging from activating cat balls to electronic voice phenomena. Steph says she enjoys seeing that evidence, and even the most convincing videos or audio captures don't prevent her from venturing into the house alone. But that doesn't mean she doesn't have her fair share of uncomfortable moments when she's there by herself or spending the night.
I will go, if there's one other person in that house, I can go anywhere. It takes a lot to scare me when it comes to ghost hunting. But something about being alone in the house, I refuse to go on that second floor in the middle of the night when no one else is there. It's not comfortable. Some people think they don't like me there. Some people think they love me there. One girl, and I love her so much, she said, I don't know if they like you or hate you, but they react to you. And that's probably the best way to describe it. Very first night I spent the night there, we experienced something. So I just put an air mattress in what I have as the primary bedroom now, because there was no furniture in the house. So I put an air mattress out, and I could hear the door handle jiggling, and then I heard footsteps by my head, and I was like, oh my God, it's next to my head. And my husband at the time, he said, isn't this what you wanted? And I'm like, oh yeah, it is. I mean, he would grab his gun and run around the house like someone's in this house. I'm like, there's no one in this house. So that's another reason the second floor freaks me out, is because my brain goes to, it's a person. That's probably why, because the basement does kind of look like Silence of the Lambs, like you're not going to make it out. But I'd rather be down there by myself. And I have been by myself. But second floor, no thanks.
When guests check into McInteer Villa, Steph says they are welcome to roam the mansion in its entirety. One report she's heard often is that of what sounds like a bowling ball rolling along the second floor. In her 7 years of owning the mansion, she has not been able to find the source of that odd sound that's been reported. That is, until recently.
For years, people have told me they've heard what they thought sounded like a rolling ball going down the second floor. They'll be on the main floor, and you hear what sounds like a bowling ball. So last week, I was sleeping in the library on the second floor. I had some friends across the hall in the primary room. And I went in the hallway to do something, and I heard somebody walking up the main staircase. I ran into the library because I'm apparently a chicken. And then something jiggled the handle just really fast, but it sounded like a bowling ball. So I think that's what people are hearing, just the door handle to the room that I think that Charles took his life.
One would think, through her cavalier attitude and sense of humor, that Steph is accustomed to paranormal encounters. Surprisingly, though, before purchasing the McInteer Villa 7 years ago, Steph's paranormal experiences were limited. She says she never had an encounter in her childhood and didn't even think about spirits or the paranormal world much at all. But things changed for her when she took a trip to Eureka Springs, Arkansas, and she stayed in a very haunted hotel there.
Most people that I have met, they had an experience as a kid or saw something, felt something. But no, I went to the Crescent Hotel in Eureka Springs, and I stayed on the third floor, and I heard what I thought was room service. And I was like, who ordered room service at this hour? And it was like 3 a.m. And then the next day I took the ghost tour with all these other crazies. And because I never thought anything about ghosts. I didn't think they did or did not exist. It never crossed my mind. And so I took the ghost tour, and they talked about a squeaky wheeled gurney being pushed down the hallway between 3 and 4 a.m. on the third floor. And I'm like, what? That's what got me into ghost hunting.
And now, Steph invites paranormal investigators from around the country and around the world to explore a haunted mansion in Atchison, Kansas. But knowing who is haunting McInteer Villa at any given time is certainly a challenge, and something that Steph may not ever fully understand. One thing she does know, however, is that she had coveted the house for years before finally purchasing it, and she feels a strange kinship with it that she plans to maintain for as long as possible.
When I saw this house, there was just something about it. And I tell people all the time, I'm not obsessed with anything, which is sad, but nothing. But there was something about this house that I live a little over an hour away. I would get in my car. I would just go drive by it. I would look it up. There was just something that was drawing me to this house. And, I went on a cruise with my brother and his wife, and I'm looking it up. I'm like, just look at this thing. People tell me, look into it. Maybe there's a family history. Maybe something is connected. I don't know. I'm not, but that would be kind of interesting if there were. I mean, like I said, there was just something that drew me into it. I've never thought I'd buy a haunted house, just joked around about it. So it wasn't like a dream. It just happened.
As investigations and special events continue, Steph plans to continue sharing paranormal evidence on her website and throughout her social media channels. She also encourages anyone who watches her cameras to alert her to any activity they may see, since she doesn't always watch every single piece of footage. The house has a personality all its own, she says, and trying to convey exactly what it is can be challenging because of its uniqueness. That's why Steph encourages investigators and history lovers to check it out for themselves.
It's so hard to explain the house. I can tell you who's passed away in the house. I can tell you what the house was used for, but who all is there? There are so many spirits that I'm not good at telling the story of like who's there because I don't know who's there.
Thank you to Steph O'Reilly for sharing her stories and experiences within McInteer Villa in Atchison, Kansas. Learn more about this Victorian mansion at 1889McInteerVilla.com or follow Steph and the mansion on Facebook and Instagram under the handle 1889 McInteer Villa. This episode was narrated, written, edited, and produced by me, Steve Blanchard. Music for this episode was provided by Purple Planet Music and Shane Ivers. Remember, you can watch the full interview with Steph on our website, phantomhistory.com, or listen to it on our sister podcast called Conjuring Phantom History. I'd also like to invite you to follow Phantom History on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Blue Sky. And, as always, thanks for listening. Thank you for watching that. I want to remind you that you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out all of the Phantom History content, as well as visit phantomhistory.com to watch more podcasts and learn about our adventures, as well as sign up for our newsletter so you will always be notified when new content drops.